Excuse me, there it is. Hello, everyone. I thought I made a note on here for something I was going to do, but I guess I didn't. So, hey, how are y'all doing? Oh, so there's a grand Air Trine going on right now. I'm sure somebody talked about it, but I booted up my phone to try to find a picture. And I had this widget with the planets on it. So Saturn in Aquarius is trining Mars conjunct the moon in Gemini is trining the sun conjunct Venus in Libra. And I'm sure somebody's talked about it. But I was like, what? There's a grand air trine going on right now. And it looks like Neptune and Pisces is squaring. Oh, but nothing's it's squaring the moon and Mars and Gemini is in a loose square to Mercury and Libra is squaring. Oh, that's the descendant right now. So anyway. So to conclude from yesterday, excuse me, I'm going to continue to be vague because I like vaguity. Ambiguity. That's I was like vagueness. So yesterday, 2 days ago, I was like really sort of nervous or hesitant about, honestly, I guess it was more so like the past repeating itself in a way. Or I was like, oh, I have a feeling like this and that are happening. But it turns out while this and that were, I didn't necessarily have to worry. Oh, darn it. 1 second. Where did it go? Where did it go? I didn't have to worry because everything is different. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Here we go. The Knight of Swords. So I don't know what I'm doing today. That was basically it. I was given an opportunity. I took advantage of an opportunity to speak, I guess, to act. And then it was like, oh, yeah, like the thing that you were worried about, that concern was unprecedented. Like you had no reason to fear. I'm like, what? But every other time. It's like, yeah, but this ain't every other time. So what am I doing today? I had an idea for something. Excuse me. I had an idea for something. And I wanted to use, like I said, I still want to use the Happy Tarot. I still want to use the Vitruvian edition. Like I use the Revelations edition so much and I connected to it so well. And I feel like I haven't necessarily given this deck the same attention that I gave the SKT. I definitely have not given this deck the same attention I gave the SKT for sure. Because, I mean, I think the SKT was like my 4th or 5th deck. And it was, I mean, I feel like still... it was the only one that really gave me what it was giving me. And I loved it for how it sort of like pushed the envelope for me. And this one, like I said, like I got it and I barely used it. I have so many decks now and I'm grateful. I keep getting gifted more. I don't know what I'm doing. I had an idea for something, but I forgot what it was. But I just want to get an overall card for this trine. There we go. Interesting. And then what? Saturn and Aquarius. We'll just see what's up. Okay. Moon and Mars and Gemini. Okay. And then Venus and the Sun in Libra. Oh, snap. So the energy of the overall trine is the golden shield, the sanctum of splendor. It's interesting that the sanctum of splendor comes out and it's in the element of fire because what? Solus, the sun's splendor kept coming out of the wild unknown alchemy the first few times I'd used it. And now that energy is here in this trine. I'm going to read it. Saturn and Aquarius is coming out with Saturn in New World Order, the world, but also with the Destroyer, the Ten of Swords. The Moon conjunct Mars in Gemini is coming out with the Keeper. We just saw the Keeper in the Vitruvian edition. But here, now we can see both of the ravens. In the Vitruvian edition, it was one raven, and it was like, it'll be a black raven for some and a white raven for others. And there are different paths. We see both of them here in this one. We also see the Merkaba, like assembled, functioning, doing whatever it does. These two trees. I guess those aren't trees of life. Those are the elemental wheels. And then Venus and the Sun in Libra are bringing the Holy Grail, Ace of Cups. The bottom of the deck is the Priestess. So, the High Priestess. Excuse me. So this is a lot. This weekend, I guess we still have some time until the 25th. I mean, it's 9 days. 11 days from now. But I do want to see what she says about the golden shield in this book of maps. Oh, I'm so sleepy. I get a weekend this weekend. I'm so excited. I don't have to work. I'm so excited. The Golden Shield. Should we do the card description? Oof, this is long. I'm going to be reading for a hot second. The Golden Shield is the power and authority of fire. This is fire that protects, safeguards, nurtures, and defends. This shield itself, which is the source of angelic power, features a Zoroastrian prayer inscribed in Old Persian cuneiform. Lord of wisdom and light, protect my people from our enemies, from famine, and from falsehoods. The 3 plates of inscriptions meet at a center set stone of amber. Below it, the solar cross. The solar cross is also reminiscent of a double Vajra for the power of thunder, which was in that Mars card. Alternating colors evocative of the sun and fire further fortify the shield. The patron guardian of the golden shield in this sanctum of splendor is Nuska, the Mesopotamian god of light and fire, son of the moon god. Nusku is the light illuminating the dark moon, the eve before the new moon, and present on the new moon. Rituals for honoring the god of light or the god of fire invariably include invocations of Nuska. Nuska is also the patron god of arts and civilization, human ingenuity, and creativity. He is fire, innovation, bronze, and enlightenment that arises from human reason. He later evolved into the Babylonian and Akkadian god of fire, Gera. The Babylonian trinity of gods consists of Enki or Ea, a god associated with water, wisdom, the arts, and is a spiritual father figure. Marduk, son of Enki, god of agriculture, justice, and patron god of Babylon. And thirdly, Nuska, the god associated with fire, and the mediator between Enki and Marduk. The golden shield, also known as the shield of light, has transported you to a fire temple in a reimagined, reconstructed Persepolis. The architecture of the temple features Persepolitan. Okay, that's a lot. Upon Niska's crown is twin-winged bulls, conveying that he is the personification of a gateway, a guardian spirit who will transport you to safety, where you will be protected by the light. I feel like that is a whole bunch of that. The golden dragons that came out at the end of yesterday. Thor is red, black, and gold dragon. The golden Christed dragon, and the other gold dragon. With all the transmutation, with all the protection during a time of great transmutation, it was a transmutation transformation, likened to the rabbinic concept of Shekinah, or a dwelling place where divinity is present. The queens in SKT are sanctuaries that await you, where you will be safe and personally protected by the guardian spirit of that sanctuary. When the golden shield appears to you, it is a gateway to the sanctuary of a Persepolitan fire temple, where Niska will be your protector and your counselor. The golden shield is an emblem of faith, the faith that envelops you now to keep you safe from harm. Niska comes to you presented as strength, as one who can and will protect you. Here in the sanctum of splendor, the sanctuary of splendor, where the patron divinity Niska guides you, you'll learn to shine your brightest. The golden shield is a diamond and can be perceived as an exalted aspect of yourself, one where sparks of imagination and vision are nurtured into brightly burning fires of influence. When this card appears in your readings, it is the power of attraction you'll harness to achieve your objective. This is where the spark of ingenuity within you is cultivated into a glorious flame. In mundane terms, now is the time to cultivate advancement in your professional track, to expand your knowledge and experience so that you can become a prominent master in your field. Okay. This is a lot. Oh, there's the incantation. The Sanctum of Splendor card can appear in your readings as an omen of a prosperous business or success in creative undertakings. What I found interesting was that Niska was the mediator between Enki and Marduk. It's also interesting, again, that like at the core of this, we have fire, a guardian of fire, the power and authority of fire, and the sun and Venus are bringing the Ace of Cups water. The Keeper is here, and the Moon and Mars. And Saturn is bringing a new world order with the Destroyer Ten of Swords. With the High Priestess at the bottom of the deck, it feels like, or it reads like, a very fated time. I mean, there's a world card and the Sanctuary of Splendor, which feels like very prosperous time, sort of coming ahead, but Saturn is also bringing this Ten of Swords. And these drums represent thunder, I think. back here. It might be thunder and lightning, which is also, it was mentioned in that. Let me go see if I can find it. 10 of Swords. Here we go. A destroyer of obstacles. Oh, this is interesting. A shamaness channels the destroyer of obstacles. We are seeing her physical and spiritual forms merging, and so she appears with 6 arms. She stands over a slain prostrate figure clothed in the colors of Malkuth, the Kabbalistic correspondence for the tens. The figure's right hand is in the sign of benediction, symbolic of the great authority this slain figure had held. Um, One second. The headdress shape represents cow horns when the shaman occupies the physical material world, and the wings of a mythical bird when the shaman occupies the spiritual astral world. That part, because this one talked about the cow horns being something about a gateway. What was it? The architecture of the temple features Persepolitan columns with fluted shafts and capitals carved with winged bulls and the sun, symbolizing gateway guardians and the story of Ahura Mazda, creating the animals of earth from an androgynous bull. So that winged bull motif is in both of these. I'm trying to get to the drums. Here we go. Oh my gosh. She's like 5 swords are stabbed into the prostrate figure. Right to left. It's like the first pierces the jade pillow chakra point or cranial pump, which is the energetic point of psychic transmissions. Next is the wing point or point opposite the heart, the hub of spiritual and emotional development. The third is the adrenal point governing physical vitality. The fourth is the door of life across from the sacral chakra, which is the master energy switch for karma, fate, and destiny, that which is prenatal. The fifth, which the shamaness holds in her right hand, is the area of the sacral pump and the gate of life and death, the region of the root chakra. Oof. Well, the hub of right. Left to right, the gemstones on the hilts are the color correspondences for the wuxing or wuxing. 5 forces in Eastern metaphysics: green for wood, red for fire, yellow for gold. Yellow gold for earth, sorry, white silver for metal, and blue for water. So, on the sword penetrating the figure's wing point, there's a coiled serpent resembling Dion's rat snake or Dione, a snake commonly found in Mongolia and northern China. Dion was an ancient Greek titaness and mother to Aphrodite. according to the Fabulae by the first century Latin writer Gaius Julius Hyginus, Dion is the daughter of Gaia and Ether. And then Venus is conjuncting the sun down. Venus is conjuncting the sun with this pearl rising out of the cup, like how she was born of the sea foam or whatever. Now, here are the drums. Twin war drums stand on either side of the shamaness. A red cord tied around the hoop of the drum on the right and a green cord around the drum on the left. The face of the drums features the Tengris magic square from the... I'm not even going to try. Okay, these drums are not what I thought they would be. Like, that's the one thing about that, like Benebell in the Book of Maps, is she's gonna give you everything, and this is a whole bunch. Like, now it's all the way into shamanism and like with the Turks and Mongols and the Tengris practices. So yeah, and it's still go. It's fine. I tried to reach for the drums. And it's still going. Yeah, okay, that's a lot, but that's fine. Oh my gosh, it's still going. Now it's over. Hey Holly, how you doing? So the takeaway, I guess, in this is the shamaness spiritual and physical bodies merging. That's why she's shown with those 6 arms. It's also interesting because of the 4 swords. It's almost like a 4 of wands energy up here. I mean, I guess that it's fitting if this is the marriage of the physical and the spiritual, right? If the 4 of wands is meeting at the altar. The drums were, I don't think so. The drums were some mystical, magical, whole bunch of um, so many pages. 1 second. Oh yeah. War drums, I guess. But they didn't necessarily read like a call to action to me. Because I typically feel like I see drums like this, maybe not exactly like this, but associated with, like, I guess it's different, lightning or deities around lightning. This is like calling forth spirits or divine spirits, some that are destructive, defensive, or protective, other ones that are creative, nurturing, and beneficent. Nine to 13 initiations. Oh my gosh. Oh, hold up. So there's a process of purifying. So there's a process of purification that leads to an individual being worthy of receiving divine gifts from spirit. I'm like, okay, this, like, it's a whole thing. And I'm like, all right. Oh, look, we got the bull in Taurus. Lots of winged bulls. The Seeker, and then the Holy Grail. The Seeker is air, the Holy Grail is water, the Destroyer is Sun and Gemini, and then we have Saturn here. It's interesting that Saturn in Aquarius is bringing, but the Sun isn't in Gemini. The Sun being in Gemini, that's what Gemini season is, late May to June, end of May to June. I have no idea. So Saturn in Aquarius is trining the moon conjunct Mars, and Gemini is trining the sun conjunct Venus in Libra. The energy of the overall grand trine is this golden shield, who is Nuska, who was the mediator between Marduk and Enki, associated with fire, creativity, and stuff like that. Saturn in, should I pull two cards? Nah. Saturn in Aquarius is bringing New World Order, which is the world, and the Ten of Swords. The Ten of Swords in the world. And like the world is Saturn. So Saturn is doing what Saturn does. The moon in Gemini, Mars in Gemini is coming out with the Keeper. And then Venus and the Sun in Libra is coming out with the Holy Grail. The Holy Grail, the Ace of Cups in the Wild Unknown Tarot, is my like wellspring card. And then with the purification associated with the spirits associated with the drum, it's a purification so that a divine gift can be received. It's also the merging of the spiritual and physical. So if we're in a space of merging with the spiritual and physical, there's no wonder that the wellspring would come out. And then, of course, the Keeper is here. The Keeper is the enlightened fool. The Keeper is the fool that's made its journey from the magician to the world. And here's the world. Here's the end of the journey. At the end of the journey, the physical and spiritual are merging into one. Our fool has, that's why it has 6 arms. And again, like the Keeper is right here. The awakened, enlightened fool, and the wellspring. So this is definitely, it's an energy of embodying whatever that golden crested dragon was coming out and doing, like, it's here. It's received, it's embodied. Don't ask me what that means. Though I could venture a guess. And then the High Priestess is at the bottom of the deck. Behind the High Priestess is Judgment. Apocalypse. 2 and 20. With the Alpha and Omega, it's the beginning and the ending. Right? And Judgment in this card gives us a few rays of light. I would assume this one here-ish, because it's kind of sort of coming down this way. And that one looks like it might originate in the void. Well, where the void is, we have that sort of alpha and omega. It all begins and ends in the void. Archangel of Healing. Oh, the Archangel of Healing is behind the Apocalypse card with that Holy Grail Ace of Cups. It was the Archangel of Healing and the Ace of Cups, which was the spiritual self-deprivation tank, which came out, and then I talked about again last night. It's here again. This is the process of that purification that puts us in a position to allow whatever is happening, allowing us to receive whatever is happening. So there was the energy of the wind that's moving through. And at first it was like, how is the environment set up to cause the wind to move in certain ways? And then with the Yarna versus the Yarna and Thane, it was like, where are we like flexible and fluid, and where are we not? And how does one affect, impact, whatever? This is like, it's poised in position to receive. But like the energy of that purification coming out with Saturn, I guess, isn't too surprising because it's Saturn, right? It's not necessarily Jupiter where you just get it. But at the same time, it's like, you wouldn't give a 2-year-old a machete. You know what I mean? I mean, some people would, but probably maybe not the best idea. Also, I mentioned that the Keeper came out yesterday. Or the Keeper came out recently, and it wasn't yesterday because yesterday I used the Revelations edition. The Keeper came out recently in the Vitruvian edition, and it had the one raven. And it was like, it'll be a black raven for some people and a white raven for other people, and it's associated with different paths. And this Keeper card, both ravens make an appearance. And so in that way, again, it's almost that when we sit at the center, everything flows inward to us rather than us sort of picking off a point and then being more immersed in that point. So one second. What? Oh, that's the midheaven. And the IC. Okay. The midheaven and the IC are creating aspects to give like that. I think it's called like a mystic rectangle or whatever. I don't know all of the special aspects. We'll keep the high priestess down. Well, the high priestess is the moon. Apocalypse is fire. I think the golden shield, when I did the SKT on one side and the Vitruvian on one side, the Revelations on the other, where the other side had the Page of Wands, which was an initiation. The Vitruvian had the golden shield, which was preventing, or which was like not initiating because of the nature of the initiation. We're not given more than we can handle, and it would have been more than we can handle, is what that golden shield was saying. Anything else? This is interesting. Ooh. Archangel of Healing and the Herald of Waters. Excuse me. Archangel of Healing again. No problem. It helped me piece it together. So, TLDR, skip to 30 minutes. Or TLDW, too long, didn't watch. And that's that same Holy Grail with the fish popping out of it. I actually like these together because sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes when I get the pages, I'll look to see, like, because they bring messages. So I'll look to see, like, who are they bringing a message from? This page would be bringing a message from the Archangel of Healing. And it feels like this fish, I don't know if the fish is like some reflection of that Archangel of Healing, or like an incarnation of that Archangel of Healing. Like, I don't know, or like a messenger that like leads us to it, because it's almost like the fish is the messenger and this is us. Like, wait. The Empress at the bottom. Oh, that flipped over. Okay. So the message of that page. Oh, snap. It's a two-parter. The first is the Shining Waters, Knight of Cups. So everything is here except for the Queen, which is the shield. The Herald, the Shining, and the Archangel. The Herald, the Shining One, and the Archangel. The Page, the Knight, and the King of Cups. I mean, that's their equivalents. But the other one is this Shining Flame with the Eight of Wands, the Sharpshooter. So again, it's making me think of that like chariot energy. We have the Knight of Cups and the Knight of Wands. Two knights of opposing elements on the same page working together. And this Eight of Wands energy is the momentum that they have when they work together rather than against each other. Like there's an element of harmony instead of discord, and that harmony amplifies. That's another thing, I guess. That's what today and yesterday. And I guess it's interesting because we're approaching the end of Libra season. We still got a few days until Scorpio season. Well, what is the sharpshooter pointing to or aiming at? Well, the chariot. There you go. It just fell out. So there you go. You got your horse of fire and your horse of water. Oh, let's do it this way. Let's keep it this way, actually. The horse of fire is coming out on the side of the silver sphinx. The horse of water is coming out on the side of the golden sphinx. And usually they would be like flipped, but this is how they are coming out. Because this one, like, it's just how it came out. I mean, again, with it being the chariot, it's with both in alignment, something picks up even quicker. I guess just like in an almost every day, this would be like when it's almost like a heart that's all on the same page. Because the heart can be associated with feelings and emotions, but the heart can also be associated with like passion and drive, right? Like the fiery side is the passion, the watery side is the emotion. It's like somewhere passion and emotion come from the same source. But it's like when we're passionate about what we do and there's like emotionally invested and there's an energy of or a willingness to like see it through, it's how we can become unstoppable. There's so much like merging and coming together in all of this. So you haven't celebrated your birthday yet, so it's still Libra season. That's something that's like, and I guess apparently this grand air trine, I guess it makes sense. Like with Gemini being the twins and Libra being Libra, um, that we would sort of be in that meeting and merging. Embers of the salamander and waves of the undine are the shining flame and the shining waters. And that's like, this is what the Archangel of Healing is telling us through proxy of the fish and the Page of Cups. But I guess that would make sense if it's the Archangel of Healing too. It feels like it makes sense that the physical and the spiritual, that the ego and the not ego, it's like it's all on the same page and it's ready to move forward. If it resonates, take it. If it doesn't, don't. You know, because it feels like with that destroyer, with that Ten of Swords, like that's where we are. Like the world, like is major arcana. It just happens more or less, or it's a presence. The seeker, the fool is us, or the keeper. Sorry, the keeper, the fool is also us. The Ace of Cups is just like the Ace of Cups. It might as well be a major. Um, but that's us sort of being, and that was a thread for a hot second. The one, it's like the one without that internal conflict, and then what rises or what is created within the one that lacks that internal conflict. It's what that harmony just naturally produces within the self, which feels like it's a little bit of that return to self from whatever card that was, the Solway Coagula, the Solutio, the Dissolution, which is also that spiritual self deprivation tank, which is the Archangel of Healing with the Holy Grail. So, like, everything is sort of coming out of this Holy Grail. So, maybe this will be, it's like us connecting to ourselves in a deeper, truer, more authentic way for sure. But it's like when we do that within ourselves, it opens us up to be able to connect in that way with others, other people, other universal energies. And it feels like Saturn is like holding a pretty great one. Is there anything else? I mean, nothing else is in air. I mean, I guess fire will sextile. No, this is late fire. Leo is empty. Aries is basically empty. Like Jupiter's retrograding back into Pisces. And Sagittarius is empty. So there's no fire sextiling any of this, which is interesting because it feels like there's this like super flow that's happening, and it's like very like it's a rapid current, but without any sextiles it feels like there's no easy entry into it. It's almost like either you're in it or you're not. And like you determine and dictate whether you're in it or not by your internal state. Because again, the spiritual and the physical are merging here in this destroyer 10 of swords. The shaman is channeling both simultaneously, the destructive protective and the creative nurturing. It's all of it. And it almost, I mean, with both of those, it's like a new world. I mean, new world order. It's like a new world is being like born or birthed, or it's a whole new set of experiences. Destructive, defensive, protective forces, as well as creative, nurturing, beneficent forces. It's both. And I mean, yeah, it's the sanctum of splendor with the mediator. So definitely, like the mediator in the middle feels like it's almost like that's an energy that feels like it's helping us get into that flow or like stay in it through an opportunity. It's like it feels like it's an energy that's assisting in that balance or whatever. I don't know. So yeah, that's super interesting. I guess I was like, what? There's a grand air trine. Yeah, and there's like 5 planets involved, and Mars and Venus are 2 of them. Mars and Venus are 2 of them, and then the Sun and the Moon are 2 of them. The remaining one is Saturn, and Saturn has its own ring. So it's almost like Saturn is whole in and of itself. So yeah, it's definitely sort of like opposites coming into a certain balance with like Venus trine Mars while simultaneously the sun is trining the moon. But what's interesting is the moon is conjuncting Mars while the sun is conjuncting Venus. Usually we would see it more the other way around because the moon is the more traditionally, I don't even want it. The moon is the more readily accepted feminine, while the sun is the more readily accepted masculine. So you would think like Mars would be with the sun and the moon would be with Venus. But it's almost like within those aspects as individuals, it's like they're already sort of reaching out to the other. It's like in that yin yang, it's like the little dot, it's like the 2 little dots are interacting with each other across all of the things. So it's like it's not the barrier where, but that makes me think of like it's not that first barrier between the internal and the external. It's the second, but that second barrier is the Ace of Cups. That's where the wellspring is. Because it's like sometimes with the Hermit, it's like as above, so below, as within, so without. So what we'll do is we'll retreat within. with that hermit, and at the surface, at the eyeball, will try to do whatever to influence the external. But it's like you have to go so far internal that you get back to the external. So there's like this second point. And that's, I mean, I guess we can do it anywhere along the way, but when you do it from that second point, that's what makes it more powerful. But that's at least over here. The hermit uses the light of the Hierophant to go inside. The Hierophant's light only gets us so far. At a certain point, the hermit has to trade that light, the Hierophant's light, for its own. And when the hermit picks up its own light, when the hermit follows its own light, that's what opens up the innermost caverns. That's when we find the wellspring. That's when this level of merging physical and spiritual becomes more possible, or it's like it's more easily possible. And that's when things really start to move, especially apparently now. It's interesting because then it makes Saturn feel a little bit more like Libra in a way. Or it's like it's this super abstracted Saturnian energy. I can see Saturn ruling Libra. Um, but it's almost like with Saturn being boundaries, borders, restrictions, limitations, and stuff like that. It feels like that energy of like borders and boundaries can be abstracted to bonds, and bonds can be abstracted to like relationships or a connection. And so Saturn is holding this like superpower of connection that I would personally feel like a more traditional astrology doesn't really give us access to. Your twins have grand air trines in their birth charts. Oh, snap. Oh, they're the same. Okay. And here is again, it's the Sanctum of Splendor with all of the sun splendor that came out in the. And again, like the heart of this trine, like the energy of the trine itself is fire, but there's so much water that's being brought. Like it almost feels like this is the most almost mystic Libra season, or this it's like this super mystic Libran energy where it's like it's using the opposite side. It's like if we want water, then it's the solution is to like be more fire. Or if we're seeking, like if we want water, then we seek fire. And that fire in turn will give us water. If we, and like the same is true for earth and air. It's almost like, I don't know if it's like counterbalancing or what. But it's like, it's maybe it's just like the polarity itself, not like the pole, I guess, itself, because those two are connected. I don't know. Anyway. Well, what's opposing? Is anything opposing the sun? No, nothing is in Aries. Well, I guess Jupiter, but Jupiter's not opposing the sun. Jupiter is too early in Aries for that. No, nothing is opposing the sun. What is opposing the sun? Nothing that we are aware of. Well, I mean, I guess there could be like a minor body. I have some of them on here. Let me turn them all on real quick. Oh, they're all on. Okay, they're already on. Eris. Eris is opposing the sun. Chiron. Chiron is like loosely opposing the sun, but Chiron is retrograding. Eris is also retrograding. So the Eris retrograde is making that means that opposition is going to get stronger because Eris is moving back as the sun is moving forward. But Chiron is like that opposition is already weak and it's moving backwards and the sun is moving forward. So it's just Eris. Because it feels like when something opposes the sun, that makes it full. That means it is positioned to reflect the most amount of sunlight that it can, which means it's the easiest for us to see. It feels like something is there, but we don't, besides Eris. But Eris is like always in that point. You know what I mean? Not to say that, it doesn't matter, but she's like always in. She's been in Aries for a minute. She's going to be in Aries for a minute. But it feels like there's something there that this is actually highlighting. So it's almost like if we're paying attention, we'll see it. And then it's like new planetary discovery or new discovery in the solar system. Here's this thing that's sitting right there at roughly approximately 23 degrees Aries or 21 degrees Aries. We'll say like 20, 23, between 23 and 18 degrees Aries. What is it? What's opposing the sun? I mean, this probably isn't going to give it to me, but doesn't mean I won't try, What's opposing the sun? Oh, they fell out face down, too. Every other card fell out face up. There's 3 cards. So it's the Necromancer, the Wish Granted, and the Hierophant, which is the Moon, the Nine of Cups, and the Hierophant. I love the Hierophant in this deck. Right? It would be kind of wild if we're like, what? New discovery. Pisces, Jupiter, and Pisces in Taurus. Uranus and the North Node are in Taurus. Neptune is in Pisces. Jupiter is retrograding back into Pisces. But Pisces and Taurus sextile. What's at the bottom of the deck? The Shining Gale. That Knight of Swords that fell on the floor. When I had put it back in the deck. Anyway. See, with whatever it is, Because on this Nine of Cups, I'm seeing like them sitting on this lotus. It feels like as this lotus, like as the lotus bud, I guess, is opposing the sun, it's like in its opposition, the lotus gets enough light to open. And as it opens with the necromancer, it's like something is being brought back to life. With the Hierophant here, it's not necessarily something that the Hierophant has kept a secret. What else is in Taurus? That's it. The North Node and Uranus. A rubric? Who's getting graded? See, in this, Necromancer has Anubis has his scales. Mayat, she's not here. Anubis is like, these are my scales. I will judge this one personally. So Anubis himself has showed up. But this is that thing, because with the purification, it was like the purification is to prepare the self to receive a divine gift. And so, but maybe this goes back to the hermit in some way. Because the Hierophant is just our entry point to spirit. The Hierophant, it's like the Hierophant is like spirituality / religion for dummies. Um, it's our introduction. It's step number 0, step number 1, maybe step number 2. But at a certain point, we form our own relationship with the divine. And when we form our own relationship with the divine, we transcend Hierophant energy. This feels like it's a result of the transcendence beyond Hierophant. And that it's almost like that's why that's why it's unseen. Right. It's like if it were a planet or if it were something that we know about, then the Hierophant would know about it. So it would be whatever. Right. So it might not even be in our solar system, honestly. What Andromeda is right there. I mean, I guess I can. Let's see. We'll go to constellations. Is it what constellations by name? I think. Oh, what is that website? I thought it was like constellation by. It's not constellation by stars. There was this website that had a bunch of like fixed stars on it, and I thought it was like constellations by name. BYE, yeah, sure. What is it? Give me 1 second. I know where I put it. It's gonna take me a second to find it though. Here I go again, delving through the past to find information that I need. Oh, goodness. Well, I think I can. Oh, wait. I think I can search because I'm pretty sure Constellation is in the title. Constellations of words. Darn it. Okay, there we go. Constellations of words. Oh, this is. Oh, please no. Did something happen to? Are you not who you used to be? List of stars, list of constellations. We'll do list of stars. By. And I guess we'll use the 2000 longitude. 21 degrees of Aries, Baten Kaitos is 1, and then Akamar is at 23. Kurda is at 24. We'll just look at these. Baten Kaitos. It's Zeta Cetus. Who is Cetus? Cetus is a thing. Constellation sometimes called the whale. There you go. A sea monster in Greek mythology, which both Perseus and Heracles needed to slay. Perseus came up yesterday because of Russ in his golden shower. Other water related constellations: Aquarius, Pisces, and Eridanis. So there's our water. From the. Oh no! How long has. Did that just go off or has it? I'm pretty sure it just went off. 1 second. That's the end of this 24 hours. But here's an extra 3 hours. Maybe. 3 hours of pure black screen. No, I didn't read. All I saw was 3 hours. It's 3 hours of pure black screen. Okay, well, I guess this is the point where we lose. Oh, this is timely because we're looking at that space in the sky where we don't. Okay, so I guess I'll just leave it like this. Um, the history of the star Baten Kaitos. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but it's almost like in the belly of Cetus. It looks like. I mean, Zeta would be like one of the last stars, right? It's a topaz yellow star with all that golden energy, and the whale or sea monster. Baten Kaitos is the Arabian Al-Baten Al-Kaitos, the whale's belly, although the star is higher up in the body. In astrology, it's pretended falls and blows. Sea monster sent by Neptune to devour Andromeda. According to Ptolemy, this constellation is like Saturn. It is said to cause laziness and idleness, but to confer an emotional and charitable nature with the ability to command, especially in war. Makes one amiable, prudent, happy by sea and land, and helps to recover lost goods. Let's see. According to, who is this? Manilius? The astrological influences. As the last portion of the fishes Pisces rises, appears the constellation of the whale, Pursuing Andromeda. Pursuing Andromeda. Oh, snap. I said Andromeda. I was like, unless Andromeda is out there. Ooh, doo-doo-doo. Outside of the solar system, I guess Andromeda is technically outside of this galaxy. Uh, Pursuing Andromeda in heaven as on the sea, this monster enlists its sons, those influenced astrologically by Ketis, in an onslaught on the deep and a butchery of scaly creatures. Theirs will be a passion for ensnaring the deep with nets spread wide and for straightening the sea with bonds. They will confine in spacious prisons seals which deem themselves as safe as in the open sea and shackle them fast in fetters. The unwary tunny? They will draw along in a network of meshes. Their capture is not the end. The fish struggle against their bonds, meet a new assault, and suffer death by the knife, and the sea is dyed, mixed with blood of its own. Oh, okay. Some of these get like real dark. Um, well, that's one of them. And that one was at 21 degrees Aries, like as of 2000. The next one is Akamar. It's Theta Eridanis. Eridanis, another one of those water constellations. Who was Eridanis? Let's see. Let's see. That's not a name I recognize. Let's see if it's anything besides a constellation. What is the myth of Eridanis? The best known myth associated with Eridanis is the rise and fall of Phaeton, son of Helios, the sun god. Helios's task as a god was to take the reins of a chariot led by white horses and traverse the heavens above. Oh, snap. Can I get some more information, please? It's a river god of the northern realm of Hyperborea. Okay. Mythology of the Constellation. Let's go for this one, because why not? Oh, this is a lot. Is that a Phaeton, son of Helios, the sun god? As a young man, Phaeton desperately wanted to drive the sun chariot across the skies, a task always undertaken by his father. In this desire, he was encouraged by his sisters and mother. His father steadfastly refused to give his permission, as he knew that Phaeton was not yet strong enough for such a task. However, after much pestering, he finally agreed. The two white horses were harnessed. Phaeton climbed aboard and took up the reins to drive the sun across the heavens. It quickly became clear that he was not strong enough to control the horses. At first, they galloped so high in the sky that the earth far below was in danger of freezing. Then they swept so close to the earth that it became scorched. Zeus had watched all this in growing anger. His patience finally snapped, and he threw a thunderbolt straight at the chariot. Phaeton was killed outright, falling into the sacred river Eridanis. For their foolishness in encouraging him in such an irresponsible adventure, his sisters were turned into trees along the riverbank. It is on the banks of the same river that Orion stands, with his left foot touching the water. Oh. So Eridanis was the river that Phaeton fell into. It's not like Phaeton killed Eridanis. Okay. Oof. And that's interesting because when it was the Vitruvian versus the Revelation, on the Vitruvian side, the Golden Shield came out telling us that we weren't ready for whatever that initiation was. The Page of Wands came out on the other side, on the Revelation side, and that one was initiated. And the first thing they faced into the initiation was the devil. So um, okay, but I guess we will be strong enough now. Um, so Theta Eridanis Akamar is a star in the river. This one is at 23 degrees Aries. In classical times, this star was the most southerly bright star in the river Eridanis that could be seen from the latitude of Greece. It marked the south end of the river until travelers reaching more southerly locations in the 16th century described the river as extending to Alpha Achernar. Achernar, from Arabic al-Ahir al-Nar, the end of the river, was the early name for this star at the then recognized end of the stream. Okay. Let's scroll down. This website, again, it's constellationsofwords.com. And then there's like a menu, and I click like list of stars, and they list the stars from Aries to Pisces at different places. The astrological influences of the constellation of Eridanis, into which Phaeton fell when slain by Jupiter for having set the world on fire by misguiding the chariot of his father Phobos. According to Ptolemy, all the stars, with the exception of Achernar, are like Saturn. Eridanis gives a love of knowledge and science, much travel and many changes, a position of authority, but danger of accidents, especially at sea, and of drowning. And then what was Baton Kaitos was fall. And what else was it? Something else. Pretends, falls, and blows. Blow like a blow from a lightning bolt chucked by Jupiter. Okay, that one has a shorter entry. The last star is at 24 Aries, and that one is Kurda. This one is in Cepheus. It is Xi Cepheus. Kurda is a star located on the neck or chest of the upside down figure of the Ethiopian king. White spot or blaze in the face of a horse, but thinking this is not a proper sailor name suggests an Alkirda, the ape. What? We could have had a blaze and we got the ape. Legend: Cepheus, king of Ethiopia, was taken. It's an AE Ethiopia, like ether AE. Was taken into heaven with his wife Cassiopeia and daughter Andromeda in commemoration of the deeds of Perseus. According to Ptolemy, Cepheus is like Saturn and Jupiter. It gives authority and a sober mind, sometimes making its natives judges or arbitrators, but exposes to cruel and severe trials. If Mars afflicts the luminaries from Cepheus, especially if in an angle, it causes death by hanging, decapitation, crucifixion, or impalement. By Kabbalists, this constellation is associated with the Fool, which we have the Keeper on the table. Cepheus will not engender dispositions inclined to sport. He fashions faces marked by a stern demeanor and molds a countenance whereon is depicted gravity of mind. Such men will live on worry and will incessantly recall the traditions of a bygone age and command Catos' maxims. Cato the censor. Cepheus will also create a man to bring up boys of tender age. He will lord it over his lord by virtue of the law which governs a minor, and bemused by his semblance of power, will mistake for reality the role of arrogant guardian or stern uncle which he plays. Okay. What was 17? This is the last one I'll read. Well, 17 is farther out. So anyway, yeah. What? Rivers running dry. I haven't heard about that. Okay, let's bring the light back so we can end this. Please. Hey, that's me. Ain't nobody say Bixby. I said that's me.
I didn't understand that.
I said, hey, that's me. And Bixby said, me? Okay. I mean, there is a lot of water on both of these cards. I don't know. Anyway. Those are some fixed stars that sit roughly in the spot that is opposite the sun right now. So we had. I kind of like. Oh. Yeah. Okay. Because the necromancer, resurrection. I'm leaning the most towards Eridanis, the river that Phaeton fell into after he was struck by Jupiter. But it's like, I don't know. Phaeton was getting stronger and now can drive the chariot, so there's a new Apollo in town. I'm gonna look before and after. Ooh, look, the tower. The tower is right behind that Knight of Swords. I'm gonna look before and after the Wheel of Fortune because that is Jupiter. Just to see, I think it's the Wheel of Life in this deck. Just to see what's who's that? Who's that? No. Oh, the burdened one is here, which is Saturn and Sagittarius. The burdened one was behind something at the bottom of the deck. I forget what it was behind, but I did see it at the bottom of the deck. The Ten of Wands, the Wheel of Life, and then the Herald of Earth, the Page of Pentacles, Dedication of the Adept. But it almost looks like the burdened one is carrying a Wheel of Life. The Herald of the Earth. This is Atlas, though. Almost. What is the message of the Herald of the Earth? What is she heralding, bringing? Oop. Okay, one card fell out face down on top of the Knight of Cups. Another card turned over inside the deck. Two cards turned over inside the deck. It's the Ace of Swords and the Ace of Pentacles. So again, we have the opposites of fire and water. Now we have the opposites in earth and air. Both aces being presented. I think this happened last time. Last time it had to be yesterday. The Herald of the Earth came out, and then the Bread of Life came out. Like this pentacle is now being presented, but it's coming with the sacred word. It's the sacred word in this deck. I didn't know that. It's Sacred Cinnabar in the other deck. It's the crowning, the deepening and the crowning are the cards that flipped over. The card that fell out on top of the Knight of Cups is the Memory Keeper, Sun in Scorpio, Six of Cups. The lovers aren't here today. The lovers aren't here. The devil isn't here. Um, so here we see the immature, the young phoenix, and the young dragon. They represent masculine and feminine energies in this deck. So the lovers has like the mature phoenix and dragon, and the devil has the bound phoenix and dragon. This almost makes me think of, I feel it's Doctor Who, and it's Doctor Who, and I feel like it's the Slovene. I feel like it was the Slovene in the Christopher Eccleston Doctor Who. The Slovene from like Rex Calicophallopatorius or whatever. And there was the one that stared. It's like she didn't, it's like there was good in her, but because of her family and because of everything that she did, it's like she struggled to, it's like she struggled against her darker, lower, more egoic impulses or whatever. And then she stared into the heart of the TARDIS and was basically given a reset. She was turned back into a baby, and she was going to be given an opportunity to do it all over again. It feels like that's a little bit here. So it feels like it's almost like a reset, or almost like a another chance to sort of like do something again, but with a lot more, with all of the knowledge and wisdom of our experiences past. So because of this is actually, it's a little bit of a tricky energy, because it's to use and utilize the knowledge and wisdom gained from experiences of the past, but it's to not recreate or relive the past. Like it's to realize that like it's fully a brand new opportunity. What you experienced in the past does not have to be what you will experience in the now moving into the future. By default, it won't be, but we can make it the same by telling ourselves it's going to be the same. And then we, again, it's almost like there's such a fine line here. And that came out yesterday too. But I guess that's why the keeper is here. That's why it's a fool that's here. It's like that jester energy. It's very both, it's very paradoxical almost. To remember the past, to be inspired by the past, but to not be bound by it or to it. Because there is knowledge and wisdom there, but it's for us to know that there's more. And I think that's a thing that it's almost like we can almost run the risk of when we do forget everything about the past. It's very like those who don't learn from their history are doomed to repeat it. Maybe that's why this Ten of Wands is coming out with the Jupiter burdened one. It's also interesting in this burdened one, we see the hands that held the ravens in the keeper. Like these hands that the ravens are perched on, it makes me think of these two hands holding the rods at the top of the burdened one. And maybe this energy was like a wave for a time. Or it's almost like it was experiencing, it's almost like it's caught in a loop until it learns whatever it needs to learn, and then it breaks that loop, it breaks that cycle, and then it's like it's almost like it's reintroduced to the world. Like when it was on a loop, that loop was separate from the larger goings on, and when it breaks that loop, it gets back into like the greater, grander sort of part of whatever. Like life is always happening and moving. It's almost like there's always like prosperity or abundance to be had in life. There's always happiness to be had. Things are always growing. But depending on where we are and where we keep ourselves, we can experience decay. And again, it's interesting that Jupiter, the planet that everybody loves, that's going to bless up and do all this and do all that because it's expansion and it gives you. Jupiter is the cool uncle that just gives you stuff, right? Like your parents might make you do chores to get an allowance, but cool Uncle Jupiter just like, oh, here's $50, kid, go wild. And then you get too much candy, you get a stomach ache, your teeth rot, you have to go to the dentist. It's like it ends up not being so great. It was great in the moment. It was plenty of fun. Lots of food, lots of drink, lots of merriment, and here comes the hangover, here comes the backlash, basically. Jupiter is the one that struck Phaeton. And it's funny because, the chariot is like movement. So you would think that Jupiter, the planet of expansion, would be down with the movement. But Jupiter was like, nah, see, you're driving that chariot a little too close and you drove the chariot a little too far. So you're going to have to be sat down. I don't know. I haven't really been paying too much attention to astrology since May, June, July 2020. But I almost wonder if after. When was the conjunction? Was that 2021? Was that 2020? It had to be 2020 because it had to be 2020. Or was it 2021? I don't know. Whenever they both conjuncted in Aquarius at like 0 degrees. I wonder if Jupiter is like carrying the same energy that it did before. If Jupiter is still giving all the expansion that it was given. Because it was reading like, because Pluto had like a few conjunctions, I think with Jupiter and Saturn. Because I feel like they retrograded in Capricorn and hit Pluto a few times before they conjuncted in Aquarius. And it was reading like Pluto was actually masterminding something and it let Saturn in on it. Saturn popped into Aquarius for a hot second, got everything set up, and then it retrograded. And when Saturn started retrograding, that's when Jupiter caught up to Pluto. Pluto let Jupiter in on it, and then Jupiter and Saturn met up. And that's when Jupiter and Saturn, well, I don't know if that's when Pluto and Saturn had to have a conversation with Jupiter about how, I don't know. Anyway, that's what it read like. So it ain't just going to be not necessarily everything that it was. Just like, a lot of the planets aren't going to be a lot of what they were. Somewhere along the way, I don't know, anyway. Something got stuck, stagnant. We weren't getting it. Who knows? Inside of the deck flips over. Oof. The devil. With the journeyman at the bottom of the deck. And the 9 of Swords behind that journeyman. But under the 9 of Swords is the Archangel of Healing. And then the Initiate. This is, you think it was 2021? Yeah, I think that makes more sense. Yeah, because my Saturn return started happening. I don't know. I feel like you're right. Why did I think it was 2020? Because I'm like, when was my first Saturn return? Saturn isn't that quick, is it? Because if that was like 0 degrees Aquarius, oh wait, I'm like 13 degrees, right? Or am I 23? I don't know. I think I'm like 23 degrees Aquarius. Actually, I'm not 13. I'm pretty sure I'm 23 degrees. So anyway. What's actually, I like this. The Hunt, the Nine of Swords, and the Vitruvian edition is interesting because we get her holding the light on the other side. But what's interesting about this is it's like it feels like she's an energy that's there to help. But because she's holding this, it's like something weird about this space. Where it's like because she's holding this light so close, it makes the shadow bigger. And it's almost like the opposite should be the case. Like it doesn't feel like it feels like the shadow, it doesn't feel like she's intentionally creating the shadow. It feels like the shadow is just, why do you keep sliding? It's natural byproduct of her presence, question mark. And it's interesting because it's almost that keeper of Karnak, the one that roams the forest energy. Like it feels like it produces a lot of the same effect, but it's different. It's almost like if we have, oof, I'm not trying to be triggering. Um, I don't know. I can't think of another way to phrase it, but I'm not trying to be triggery again. Um, it's that like when things are too good to be true, it triggers like a self worth, self value sort of things. It's like this is something that's really, really, really good that's coming in, but we can't process or like we struggle to receive it because of whatever is going on. So this really, really, really good thing creates a really, really, really big shadow. But again, it feels like that's a self thing. No, I don't know if that's how it's usually normally set up. But again, after that comes the Archangel of Healing. So we'll heal this and then we'll be positioned to receive whatever that thing is coming in. And with the journeyman being here, the Eight of Pentacles, like it's almost like we've done the work to receive it. It's like we've done enough work for our request to be honored. But until we get it, it's almost like there might be things that we're still holding on to that we don't necessarily see as like preventing us from being able to receive it until we get it, until the freak out and the potential self sabotage. But that too will be healed. And because of that, it feels like the final stages of healing energy. What's interesting is again, it's the devil card that's right here. This is the one that came out for the Herald of the Flames. For the Page of Wands that was like initiated, this was the first thing that it faced. But I don't know if this is necessarily coming in the same way of initiation. I think it kind of is because, again, it feels like it's all predicated on the amount of progress, growth, healing, whatever that we've already made. With that Eight of Pentacles being there. Oh, this is Mars and Gemini. Mars is in Gemini right now. Sun in Virgo, Capricorn, Mars in Gemini. I think Capricorn is empty. I think. I don't know where anything is. Capricorn has Pluto, duh. Pluto's been in Capricorn for a hot second. Icarus is also in Capricorn at 4 degrees. Wait, was Icarus in Sagittarius? No, Icarus was in Aquarius. It retrograded into Capricorn. It almost made it into Sagittarius, it looks like. It made it 0 degrees in 32 minutes of Capricorn when it stationed direct. And now it's moving forward. I've only seen Icarus in a few places, but that Icarus makes me think of Phaeton. They both fell into the water, so one of them flew too close to the sun, the other one flew too close to the earth, carrying the sun, or drawing the sun behind it in the chariot, and it was struck down. You were struck down. It was your doom, Annie. Sorry. Again, here we see the Phoenix and the dragon, mature but chained, with the red eyes. They got devil vision. So anyway, I guess long story short, Saturn brings reward. Jupiter, Mars and Venus. Excuse me. Masculine Venus, feminine Mars. Again, it feels like it's like this kind of energy. I feel like it all goes back to that Ten of Swords, the Destroyer. It was the spiritual and the physical sort of coming into a harmony. The process of purification that positions us to receive divine gifts, and divine gifts being the sanctum of splendor. So, like, very, very bountiful. But again, like, the guardian of that sanctum is the mediator between Enki and Marduk. So it feels like balance plays a huge role. And again, that came out in the Necromancer with Anubis holding his own scales. And the spot of what we don't currently see, or what was previously unknown to us, that is now being illuminated by the sun. And that's not a kite. Yeah, actually, I think it is a kite. A kite is when you have a grand trine and an opposition, right? A kite is a planetary aspect pattern that occurs when 3 planets in the chart form a grand trine and a 4th planet is opposite one of the grand trine planets. Yeah. And thus forms a sextile aspect to the other 2 configured planets. So it's made full by the sun, sextiling Saturn and Mars conjunct the moon. And I feel like that's just like this, I guess, higher aspected Mars energy. That's the Mars that keeps coming out in the Wild Unknown Alchemy deck. Mars and Saturn actually play pretty well together, but again, like I've talked about it so many times, it's like Saturn gives Mars direction. It's like instead of Saturn asking Mars to do or be anything besides what it is, Saturn gives Mars an opportunity to shine. Saturn's like, okay, you're really good at this. You got a lot of energy. And when you're not occupied, you kind of get into trouble. So we're going to give you something to do. And Mars is like really into it. Mars is like, oh my gosh, this is the most productive I've ever felt. Both of those together, Moon and Mars and Saturn, create an opportunity to find what the sun is trying to illuminate that is hard to see. But again, I feel like a lot of that sort of like it makes sense, especially with like all of the energies of like healing and stuff that were behind all of that. For us to be in a position where we're doing things that we wouldn't necessarily otherwise have had the opportunity to do because of whatever we thought or whatever we sort of buy into, whatever we think of as possible or not possible, whatever we think of as the ultimate outcome of a certain situation, whatever. The divine knows better than we can, and the divine sees all aspects, branches, patterns, everything. So the divine can actually get us into a much better situation. But sometimes it's like the entryway is inconveniently placed, or it's easy to miss. Oh, I gotta do it. I gotta do it. If I can find them, I'm gonna pull before and after Flussa. So I think can't remember if I did. No, I didn't do all signs for that. I just did. I used that scratch off card um, for. Look, there's the shadows. I titled it like if you chase a dog into a dead end alley, or if you chase a dog into an alley, it'll chase you through a brick wall. The chase you through a brick wall is a platform 9 3/4 energy, where it's like something that you think is a dead end, but it's not actually a dead end. But unless you know it isn't a dead end, you probably wouldn't have the courage to run full speed into a brick wall. You know what I mean? Very one of those magicked, illusioned, secret doors that look like any other stop sign. Which kind of sort of it feels like it plays into this because of the redemption of Phaeton. Oh no, that's way too many cards. I saw Leche and Treadle, but like 15 cards in between. Yeah, no. Oh, I'm not looking for a card anyway. I'm just shuffling this, and then I'm gonna pull before and after Flussa. Flussa for me, it's always felt like that Flussa is the dead end that's not a dead end. Flussa feels like an initiation into. It feels like an initiation into a new lease on life, a new expanded awareness or understanding. But it's like it's an encouraged self-initiation. Flussa gets us to ask ourselves the questions. Flussa gets us to be a little bit more aware or to have a little bit of a keener eye. And when we find the thing that is out of place, then we can take the opportunity to make a choice or decision to correct, fix, investigate, whatever. So it kind of like is an initiation, but it doesn't, it gets us to initiate ourselves. And I don't know. Okay, 2 more. Oh, 1 card flipped over. Who are you? Who are you? It's Tyr. Of course it's Tyr. To smelt. And to smelt is to purify, right? When you smelt things, you purify it. So that's that purification. Bottom of the deck is La Fruma. Smelt and La Fruma. the purification that positions us to accept and receive divine gifts. Back to that Ten of Swords. So now let's see what's before and after. Flussa. Oh my gosh, right here at the bottom of the deck. So it's Lafruma and Ak. Oak support with that elven light. And then we have Jer, year harvest, which is number 12. Flussa, first blood flow, 57, which breaks down to a 12. 5 plus 7 is 12. Both of these are threes. And then number 66, Wickacraft, sorcery and elder, the elder tree. So there's a 3366. Lafruma is 53-8. Oak is a 25-7. Eight, 7, 3, 3, 6, 6. With Wickacraft, I drew it this way because there are layers to this. So it's almost like, it feels like there's this Gare Wickacraft cycle where it's like we do something, we receive the reward. There's a question of like, is this all that you want or do you want more? We go, I want more. So we do something else. We see the reward. It's like, is this where you stop or do you want to continue further? I want to continue further. So we do, it's like we keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper into this. Eventually it reaches the point once it's almost like once you reach so low into the abyss, that's where you find this Lafruma light. This is just, it feels like it's illustrating that hermit's journey more and more inward. So there's the part that, oops, it felt like maybe not. Maybe that was just like when I pulled the card, like I pulled the card off the table and it created this wind that like made my leg hairs move. And I felt like a card had fallen on the floor, but it didn't. It was just the force of me picking up this Wickacraft, which is interesting. Because as like we're getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the Wickacraft, and then there's the energy of like that gust, the wind that's just like moving, that super rapid stream that this Grand Trine is sort of like really pumping through. It's like there's the part of the journey, the hermit's journey with the light of the Hierophant. And then there's the part of the hermit's journey with the light of itself. And then there's the part of the hermit's journey where it continues on without any light. No light. Just darkness. But at some point in all of that darkness, that's when the hermit finds this Lafruma. So in all of this, I feel like it's sort of come up in one way or another, but I've never necessarily envisioned the wellspring as like existing in the dark. But it makes sense. Because there are so many creation stories that start out in the dark. I mean, we're born in wombs in the dark. You plant seeds in the dark. And it's interesting, I guess, that we live in a universe where light is, and darkness is just the absence of light. But when there's like so much, almost more darkness in the sky, not like darkness in terms of like evil and whatever, just like how without the sun, everything is dark. You know what I mean? There are some stars out there that illuminate the night sky, but those are dots in the dark. But light is the thing that is, and darkness is just the absence of light. There's what was created, and then there's what was already there. And so it's almost like it's getting into the what was already there. It's almost, I don't want to say primordial, but I don't know how I would necessarily. Darn it! Now it is on the floor. I don't know. I'm looking at the Gare though, and it's like this is one Wickedcraft, a third of the Wickedcraft, but then like there's this mirror that sort of like comes in. Like you see it? Like there's this one, and then this comes in, and I even did it in the colors. Like it comes in and it like reflects this. So it's almost like something is moving in to complete all of these. Or maybe it's like the process of purification. The process of purification is what makes these almost like Flursa like thoughts, these Flursa like downloads of like meeting our healing in the external world. Like this is everything that we do. And depending on how far we go, it's not to compare or whatever. It's just like this is everything we do with all of this Libra balancing, whatever. Like it's gonna come in and it's gonna match every completed piece. But these are what kins or counts or I forget what the rune is. But it's like it's gonna come in and complete all of these for the ones that we've like because you got to get both lines. I guess you can have because if you have a complete one and then you have half of one and that comes in and it's reflected, you get what FL. So I guess it doesn't have to be like complete. Whatever it is, it's like that mirror is coming in and it's gonna sort of reflect it back. But it feels like when we have these completed, like these are Ganunga Gap portals. And it feels like that's sort of related to that Ace of Pentacles with the Herald of the Veil. That Page of Pentacles, Ace of Pentacles with the Ace of Swords, and then the Six of Cups that came out. Like it feels like it's related to that. It feels like it's related to like all of this. Like that's the sanctum of splendor. The door opens when whatever that line is comes and it reflects. Um, but again, it feels like because it came out around Flusa, and because Flusa for me is like a almost self initiation. It feels like we have to find it. But that finding it, that's that sextile between Saturn and Aquarius, and more specifically Mars and Gemini. That gets us, those sextiles get us to this missing point in Aries that's opposite the sun. And again, it's like with it being opposite the sun, it's the easiest to see now more than ever. That's the wish granted Nine of Cups, the lotus blossoms. So anyway, thanks, Holly, for being here. I hope you'll have a good whenever you see. I hope you have whatever you want to have whenever you come upon this. And I hope you have more of that, whatever you want to have, as you continue along your day and as you continue along your way. Again, it's super interesting, like to pare it down or to break it down. It's just like it feels like opportunities to do things, and by opportunities, it's mostly challenges. Well, there are opportunities that come in as opportunities, like a sextile. There are opportunities that come in under the guise of a challenge, like a square. But it feels like there's a growth that's happened in a very practical way. I almost want to say Virgo because it makes me think of Virgo. And not just because it's practical, it makes me think of Virgo because it's mutable earth. It makes me think of Virgo because it's like the changing of the seasons. It makes me think of Virgo because Virgo isn't necessarily maturing. I mean, it might be maturing. I don't know. But it's like because like it's like there's this emotional, spiritual healing that we do. And then there's like, and that's water. And then there's this very earthy, like the way we live our lives, who we are in the day to day, face to face, outside of our bubbles. When we have to, if we choose to, or if we're in the position to interact with the world, how we show up in the world. And the more the gap between who we are in our little safe bubbles and who we are in the world, like the tighter that gap or the more that gap closes, the more we basically embody and live that healing in real life. That's what aids in this, like that merging of the spiritual and physical in the self. And that's what positions us to, like, that's all a part of the purification process to receive the things that we're going to be receiving in life. And it's like outside stuff might be all kinds of storm. But again, it's almost like that's a part of it. And so not every single thing that we experience is an opportunity. I don't want to say not everything that we experience is an opportunity to do whatever, but it's like, I guess at some point or in some way, yeah, right. We don't always have to be on the healing, whatever. We can fully be in wherever we are. We can fully be there. But it's like some of those challenges were opportunities in disguise. Some of those opportunities may have created challenges. Opportunities that created challenges is the energy of that Nine of Swords. When we're presented with the opportunity, but the opportunity itself challenges us. But anyways, like it's all getting us to this point that it's going to be easier to see now than ever because it's opposing the sun, some unknown point in the sky. And again, out of those three fixed stars, it feels like Akamar is the closest in energy. Theta Eridanis. It was the place where Phaeton fell into the water after it tried to pull a chariot that it was not ready for. I don't know. Anyway. I'll see y'all when I see you. I don't have to work this weekend, so you'll probably see me. I feel like I should try to do something this weekend. I really feel like I should try to do something this weekend. Maybe I will. I'm going to take my own advice. I'm going to take my own advice. And it just like hit me. I'm like, oh, But anyway, you might see me, you might not. You'll see me when you see me. I'll see you when I see you. If I see you, if I don't see you, but you see me, then I guess that's cool. It's fine. Um, Again, it feels like such great energy, but it feels almost so hidden. And I don't know if it's because it's like it's almost so fast or so almost ethereal and airy. And again, like Saturn is one of the keystones, one of the cornerstones of this energy. So it's almost like you think it'd be a little slower, heavier, denser, easier to sort of see, but it's like, no. But I also think it might be an aspect of Saturn that traditional astrology doesn't necessarily lend to. Just like it's an aspect of Mars that traditional astrology doesn't necessarily lend to, and it's an aspect of Venus that traditional astrology doesn't necessarily lend to, because it's like Venus conjuncting the Sun, Mars conjuncting the Moon. It's almost like this other side of both of those energies, and it's the other side of both of those energies working in conjunction with Saturn that's making this just like flume, just. And there's a few things that I know I need to do, and I really need to not procrastinate. So, because I'm trying to be in the flume, I'm trying to go zoom, zoom. You know what I mean?